joined us in person or are online with Zoom, Facebook Live, or YouTube Live. If you are one of our live streamers, please go to the chat and tell us where you are streaming from. For those of you who are here in person, please take this moment to ensure that your cell phones are silenced. We begin our Wednesday evening service with a pre-service meditation, so I invite you to get still, close your eyes, allow yourself to simply notice your breathing, and to be present in this space. If your mind wanders, simply bring it back with this mantra: God, the love that I am. I will bring us out of meditation in 10 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Let's stand up and sing our opening song, I Am Open.
I am open. I am open. I am open to receive the love in you and me. I am open. I am open. I am open to receive the love in you and me. I am open. Have we moved on to the you? See, this is me already focused. We're going to talk. Okay, we're going to stop. You know what? I have this rule. If you can't hide it, you paint it red. And I got distracted with something else because that's what I do. We're going to start over with You Are Open. By the way, we're doing service in a new way. It's not a disorganized way, but let's go ahead and we'll do it from You Are Open because I will focus back in. 1, 2, 3, 4. You are open. You are open. Yes, you are. You are open to receive the love in you and me. You are open. You are open. I know you are. You are open to receive the love in you and me. And now we are open. Yeah, yeah. We are open. I know we are. We are open. We are open to receive the love in you and me. We are open. We are open. We are open. Yes, we are. We are open to receive the love in you and me. Yeah, yeah. The love in you and me. Oh, the love in you and me. Yeah, yeah. One more time. The love in you and me. All right, please be seated. Thank you so much.
And as we are open now, if we would just sit back and relax and close your eyes, if that is comfortable, and let's pray. As we take in a deep, cleansing, loving breath, and we follow the next breath into our heart center, into that place that knows that it knows. It knows that we have just aligned ourselves with the one divine creative force for good. This good is power, it is love, it is health, it is life itself, it is consciousness. It created the universe and everything in it, the visible and the invisible. It so loved its creation that it created each and every one of us in his image and likeness, individually expressing as itself, as that mighty I Am presence that each of us is. We are love, we are health, we are beauty, we are joy, we are trust in life, knowing that we are surrounded by and immersed in that divine principle of unconditional love. We know that we are always guided and protected in divine right action in our every thought, our every word, and all of our actions. So we know that this evening is perfect. We bless each and every one of you who have come here in the sanctuary this evening, all of those who have joined us on Zoom and online, anyone, anywhere who is touched by these words that we hear tonight through the God presence of Reverend Sydney as she inspires and uplifts us, knowing that it allows us to enter into a higher level of our being. So we are grateful for this evening. We're grateful for our ministers. We're grateful for our practitioners. We're grateful for our musicians, all of our audio-visual team, all who have made this service possible. So it is with a heart filled with praise and thanksgiving and joy that I surrender into this knowing that it has already been done before I have spoken the words. So together we say, Amen. Now if you would say the Lord's Prayer with me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. Lead us
not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. And we have a little difference in our service this evening. We're going to say a statement together that's in your program, in the yellow insert.
And I'm going to join too, because I wrote it. And I
Okay.
Like it. All right. So you're going to see it at the bottom of your program. And in a minute, I'm going to go ahead and talk about how we are just shifting the order to see what we can do to make it different. So at the very, very bottom, you're going to see a statement of being for June 2023. We're going to use this throughout the month. I invite you to take this home with you. I believe that it has been entered into the chat on Zoom. Take this home with you and use it every day for the rest of this month. So let's go ahead and do this statement of being. Today I listen to the urgings of my heart. I know that my creative imagination is my connection with Spirit's brilliance and genius. With enthusiasm and excitement, I invite new ideas, new dreams, and new ways of honoring the infinite life within me. My heart is strong, my path is made clear, and my words reflect the power of love. The universe itself applauds and celebrates me, for I am fearlessly and wondrously made. God is mighty in the midst of me, and I rock. And so it is. Amen. Yeah, you can tell I wrote that. Okay. Yeah, God is. Where I am, God is. Where I stand, God is standing strong. Where I breathe, God is breathing life in and out and through me. As me, where I sing, God is. Where I dance, joy lifts my feet. Where I live, beauty is flowing free in and out and through me. As me, where I cry, God is the comfort there. Where I seek, God is the answer. Where I'm lost, God is the light, here and now, forever and ever and ever. Where I speak, God is. Love is my career where I play. God is playing boldly in and out and through me as me. Yeah. Oh, oh, oh. Where I am, where I stand, where I play, where I work and breathe and move and be, where I sing, where I dance and dance my dance, wherever I go, where I pray and take and give and live. God is, God is, God is, yeah, God is. Okay, so what the heck is Reverend Sidney thinking? We've been doing it this way for how long? Why can't we just keep doing it that way? Because we can't. Because we all need to change. We all need to grow. And as you see, even I'm the one who created the new service order, and I'm still attached to the old one. As you saw at the very beginning, I'm thinking, okay, now is that going to work? Is that going to work? Is that going to work? Is that? And suddenly I didn't know where I was in the song. You know, it's really interesting how we find ourselves in a new expression, expecting the old expression to somehow inform us what to do in the new one. And it is that thing where I know I have to forever remind myself, as Thomas Troward said, that principle is not bound by precedent, meaning it's not limited to what has come before. And by the way, neither am I, and neither are you. And so tonight's service is a different thing, and I'll make some tweaks and some shifts as we move into it over the next few weeks. But one of the first things I want to do is honor our new Wednesday night music director. This is Karen Hammock. So feel free to love her up. She's got some major cred and some major chops. She's done some stuff. And my topic tonight is all. So the idea is, do we really, really recognize and know and live from the awareness that God is all? That it's not just a little bit here, a little bit there, not over there, but a lot there, because it's easy to think that God has gaps, or that life has gaps, or that the love, the wisdom, the peace, the power, and the presence that we talk about so much, and it's almost like that's one long word, peace, power, presence, right? It's just all one word. That it's easy to think and to find ourselves really wondering, is it true? How come it doesn't feel true? How come it doesn't appear to be true? And how do we live from a greater sense of an all? Of the all, the oneness, that presence. It is actually the presence. So many of us grew up with a God of personality. And I was even observing a chat today of a bunch of ministers, and a number of them were saying, you know, we have people who come in here and then they don't want to stay because they kind of say, you know, I'm so done with the whole God thing. I'm done with the God thing. I've really heard enough of that. I don't know if I can stay. And I'm thinking to myself, then you saw the word church on the sign when you drove into the parking lot, right? It's a spiritual center. We're going to use the word God. So, because I don't want our triggers to dictate how we respond and react to life, because a nervous tale about the word God is not going to wag the dog. I just need you to know this, that we are going to talk about God. We're going to use the G word. In fact, that's what one of the ministers said. You know, people are nervous about the G word, and somebody else said, what's the G word? Here's Sydney. Because you guys are ministers. Come on now. Don't be afraid of this. This is what we do. So if our God is too small, it's because we haven't created a big enough concept to wrap around ourselves, to wrap around the world. If we are dealing with a little tiny God and we are afraid of that, or we have reactions or triggers, it's because we haven't really grokked the idea of infinite, of the infinite presence, which is love. And that's what this church is all about. That's what we're all about. So I was reading, actually I went back to look at one of my talks from about 5 years ago. And it was really interesting. A lot of it was based on a book by Gary Simmons called Eye of the Storm. And it's the letter I of the storm. If you haven't read it, it's a wonderful, wonderful book. It gets deep and you will be challenged. But he talks about the storm of separation. Actually, the winds, he calls it the 4 winds of conflict. And the 4 winds or conditions that support the storm of conflict are separation, misperception, competition, and defensiveness. And he writes, while these conditions often exist in most relationships, they don't necessarily result in supporting conflict. The pivotal component in the conflict equation is how you feel about yourself. So while we might want to put this idea out here and say, well, there's a lot of separation here, there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of defensiveness, if we are buying into it in here and we are giving it attention, if we are giving it a platform in our lives, then yes, that will absolutely be part of what informs how we are living our lives. But we don't have to do that. He writes, you are susceptible to conflict in much the same way you are susceptible to getting a cold or an infection. When your stress level is high and your immune system is weak, the likelihood of breakdown increases, right? That's when we start to feel run down. It's when our bodies begin to try to give us messages. They start off with little subtle ones, and often it becomes that big 2x4 that says, hey, you're stressed, wake up, you're not in your body, you're not in your mind, you're not in your heart, you're not in God, or you think you're not in God. This whole idea of separation, you know, unless your parents were Mary and Joseph, you were probably never told that you were a child of God. So pretty much every one of us has been born into what Gary Simmons calls a world system, right? Which is incapable of mirroring back to us our essential divinity and innate wholeness. We have to do that with each other. We are born, and this is important, not from original sin, but from original blessing. We're born in original blessing. And the universal imperative to express itself in ways which only you and I can do is part of that original blessing. That is who we are. For many of us, we learned early on that separating ourselves or shutting down was a way of avoiding the pain of being too close, too vulnerable, or too innocent. That's a place of not living in the all, isn't it? Our separation is learned. Isn't that interesting? It's an adaptive and coping mechanism. It's adaptive, and it's anchored in our perceptions, but not in spiritual truth. We adapt to situations to protect ourselves often, and that's when we separate, because it takes a willingness to move into a greater way of knowing, of being, of expressing. It takes the willingness to be vulnerable in order to experience oneness or the all. I'm going to talk about that more in a bit. So Charles Fillmore, who co-founded Unity with his wife Myrtle, wrote a book titled The Mysteries of John. And it's a really, really wonderful metaphysical interpretation. And he wrote this: When a man or woman recognizes their identity as being that of their source, spirit, he or she expands in divine order and brings forth only good. When we desert our spiritual anchorage and give attention to external experiences and sensations, we fall into a world in which a diversity of results obtain that which we call good and evil. So in other words, when we are paying so much attention to the separation out here, the pain here, the stuff that's not working, that we forget that our innate beingness right here is divine and works, when we forget to connect, to commune with that presence, with that God. Sorry, told you I was going to say the G word. By the way, I'm also going to say words like Moses, Abraham, Jesus, and probably a lot of other ones. So just spoiler alert, I just want you to know, all of these words are parts of ourselves. All of those names are parts of ourselves. They are parts of our strength, of our journey as spiritual beings. That's what the metaphysics of this is about. When we are able to open our minds and recognize that everything we experience, we interpret and contextualize in terms of our self-worth, and our self-worth is based on conclusions we made because of how someone else treated us, that's when we're able to begin the journey back to our real divine selves. So when we recognize that we are living from a decision we made about how things or people are, that's an awakening. That's an awakening. But the thing is, unless we know that we can change our minds, we're going to be living according to those beliefs, those old beliefs, and those conclusions that we have about life. Sometimes it's hard to recognize that we have beliefs going on. But I think that word conclusions might be another one, because if we can question, gosh, what's going on here? What do I think about this? What's the conclusion that I have about this person or this experience? You might be surprised by the conclusions that you reached when you were 5 years old, when you were 3 years old, when you were 11 years old. The conclusion might be, I'm not worth being around. Maybe your mother left or your father left or died. So the conclusion a child often makes is, I'm not worth staying around for. And those things begin to take root. And when we can begin to look at them and question them, then we get to unroot them, and we get to plant a new conclusion, a divine conclusion, a true, spiritual true conclusion. So the conclusions I think most people have, at least in our Western world, is that our best chance for survival is to avoid pain, to react to problems, fight those who appear to be our enemies, and to keep your fingers crossed that you're not going to get hurt too badly, emotionally or physically. Anybody ever do that? Yeah, thank you. So here we are as part of this movement at the North Hollywood Church, and more broadly in New Thought, that absolutely flies in the face of living in constant reaction and resistance to change. In fact, we encouraged it. We encourage you to initiate that change and that growth. We encourage you to move into that place where maybe there isn't a net underneath you. You can't tell what's on the other side of that cliff, and to go for the change. Because that's what grows us. That's what strengthens us. That's what opens us up to the truth and the power and the presence within us that all that is expressing, that wants to express, in order to connect with others, in order to bring a greater celebration of life. Our belief, our faith here, our very context is this. We know that all life is constantly unfolding and moving in this thing that we call divine order. And doesn't that mean that you and I are included in that? We're not separate from the divine order. We are part of it. You know, you often, in fact, every time you come into this church, you're going to hear us say that we are one of and one with God. What is true about God is true about me. I am part of that presence, part of that power, part of God. Absolutely. That is what we know about you. That's what we know about all beings. That is what we teach. And when we can finally anchor that deep within us, we begin to live from that, and it takes what we call practice. Practice. Now, practice isn't about being perfect. Practice is about making progress. I have a really good friend, David Roth, who is a songwriter, and one of his songs is "Practice Makes Progress." And that's exactly it. And sometimes the progress will feel like you just went backwards, but there's growth in that too. All of our spiritual work is about receptivity and availability. Remember, your greatest, this is actually from Michael Beckwith, your greatest ability is your availability. Think about that. Your greatest ability is your availability. That's a superpower. When you are available, you realize that life is always working on its own behalf through you, and that you get to represent life in ways that only you can. Everything we hear and see in the world, though, wants to convince us, or seems to want to convince us, that that's not so. It seems to want to convince us that we don't have the value or the clout to make the changes or to make a difference in how the story of humanity is going to unfold. And you've heard me say this before. My thoughts about that: BS. Belief systems. BS belief systems. We have everything we need to live this world and to transform it, because we have everything we need to lift ourselves and to transform ourselves. Because we are connected to this infinite source that absolutely, at every moment, is saturating us. And it is shaking us to awaken us. It is shaking us to awaken us. You know, you've heard me say before that God doesn't call the qualified, God qualifies the called. So if there is that dream or that idea or that particular longing that you have, and you see yourself as someone not yet qualified to do that, to be that, to have that, the dream is there to qualify you, to lift you into that place, to empower you to be that person. It is that dream of that might feel just out of your bounds ambitious. That is the call of spirit. That is the call of spirit saying, "Oh, my beloved, I have this thing I want you to know about yourself. You are wonderful. You are wondrously made. Here's how we're going to discover it together." That's what that's about. If we're just listening to the fears and the doubts and the prejudices of others, there isn't a lot of room for spiritual truth or thoughts of divine love. And if we're all just paying attention to the fears and the doubts and the prejudices of others, then no wonder we don't feel like we're living in a Garden of Eden, right? Because it doesn't seem much like a garden. It doesn't seem much like Eden. It probably seems like a field with a lot of landmines sometimes. Gandhi said, I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. Has anyone been walking through your mind with dirty feet lately? Anybody been doing that? Have you been letting them into your garden, into your mind? Did they wash their feet first? Did they change their beliefs? You know, this idea of four winds of conflict, it's pretty interesting. I see them operating in our world all over, in our country. You know, separation, misperception, competition, and defensiveness. Separation from source. Separation from knowing ourselves as fully immersed in and flooded with spirit, flooded with love. Misperception, we don't think we're worthy, and this is a misperception. It's a misperception. We don't think we're worthy. We believe we're playing some kind of zero-sum game in a game that where we don't even think we belong on the playing field. How did I get here? Who put this bat in my hand? Wait, I don't know how to throw a football. That's what we think we're doing. Like we feel sometimes that we're totally unprepared, like we walked into somebody else's dream. Competition. This is the one. If we don't know we come from an infinite source, which is always blessing us and trying to supply us, then we live as though there is never enough and that we're not good enough for what little is there. That is, my friends, what is the story of this world and this country right now. We don't think there's enough. When we long for abundant supply, when we long for a knowing of our prosperity and our freedom, and prosperity is not about the money, it's about the freedom to move, to go, to do, to be, to have the means to accomplish great works and to empower other people. If we don't think that there's enough, we don't think we're enough, then no wonder we feel that we have to compete with other people for it. Got to compete with someone for that job, got to compete with someone for that job or that thing. And then there's the other one, defensiveness. Now, this is one that I can identify with, and if any of you are in close relationships, and I'm going to assume that most of us are in some sort of relationship, even if it's with a neighbor, our anxiety and fear of what might happen or not happen. It's rampant, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to lift you up now. When I'm threatened and compelled to protect myself, I instinctively distance myself from my adversary. I use whatever resources I possess to manage the situation. I'm tired with trying to manage my life. Anybody? Yeah? Aren't we tired of trying to manage our lives? When we could be and should be creating our world? You know, rather than doing damage control or trying to clean up aisle 7, when we could be creating from a brand new idea of who we are. So I had a conversation with a friend a few years back, and it was about school shootings. And he made a really valid point. He said that at least in these situations, we get to see acts of love and courage and heart as people come together to try to comfort and soothe and manage the separation in all of its various social and political and economic forms. So here's my pledge. I am done with living at the level of soothing and managing crisis, especially crisis created once again by someone who has forgotten his or her own divinity. Somebody who maybe forgot or has never known that there is enough, that they are enough, that competition is not the golden key to joy, that we're here to do more than survive, we're here to thrive. You know, it is well past time for you and I to move past the consciousness of reactive management, reactive managing, into premeditated, and I do mean meditated, creation and thriving. Premeditated creation and thriving. It must be Michael Beckwith night. Here's another one of his. He said, break your agreement with mediocrity and stand in the awareness that all of life is rushing to this place called you, to be itself as your very life and being. That's very cool. So if we break our relationship and our commitment, our agreement with mediocrity, and say, I'm done with you, tear up that contract, then we get to stand out in this place, yes, of vulnerability, and recognize that life is trying to rush at us from every angle in a way to support us, to unfold us, to grow us, to celebrate us. So the first step in that is connection. It's communion. It's taking the time, that practice thing again, of coming back to that place of recognizing right where I am, God is. Right where I am, God is. Even in the midst of this, the apparent midst of something over here or over here, right where I am, God is. God is. True communion is our sacred living and breathing connection with God. It is a breathing, living thing. It's non-negotiable. It's unbreakable, because we are always connected, whether we know it or not. The problem is most of us don't always know it. So we live from a misperception of being disconnected. Disconnected. So we must come back to that awareness, to commune with the presence, because it's the first step to healing our differences. If we can begin to heal the sense of we're not part of the all, then we get to move out into the world in a stronger way. It starts within, but if we don't go further, once we've done that, it's kind of like going to a gas station without a car. Because our connection with Spirit is our fuel. It is our fuel. That's what charges us. It's what guides us, what inspires us, what impels us. Our purpose is to fuel this vehicle of humanhood, you and I, and to propel each other into greatness and paradise, into Eden. into delight, into opportunity, into joy. Gary Simmons wrote, when you don't feel connected to someone, it's easy to find fault or become disappointed. Disagreements and conflicts are symptomatic of miscommunion, breakdowns, or missing pieces in the intention to connect. So anybody finding yourself in disagreement or conflict lately, there's symptoms of being disconnected or living from that misperception of not being connected. I ask that question not because I'm trying to guilt you, but because when we can get really authentic with ourselves about where we have broken the connection with our sacred flow of awareness and our sacred knowing of ourselves, when we can get conscious and authentic about that, then we can move into a deeper awareness of love, of joy, of possibility, of the infinite. You know, I think that all of us are kind of in collective amnesia about who we are most of the time. And here's another thing from Gandhi. He said, you must not lose faith in humanity. Humanity is an ocean. If a few drops of the ocean are dirty, the ocean does not become dirty. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? And then he also said, if you want real peace in the world, start with children. And I have to agree. I have to agree, because for the most part, you know, the adults in charge, and I'm going to say most of them are just chronologically adult, haven't been doing a very good job of being in charge. So on a warm night in February, it was February 15th of 2018, thousands of people, most of them students and young people, children, gathered together for a candlelight vigil in a place that we know as Parkland, Florida. They were there to honor the lives of the 17 people who were victims of the shooting that had taken place earlier that day. And at one point, a chant began from the back of the crowd and moved through it. The young people, the children will lead you. The children will lead you. They were chanting, no more guns, no more guns, no more guns. And it began as this groundswell. And as you'll remember, that movement continued on for several years and powered so many other movements and other demonstrations and vigils. I hosted a bunch of them myself when I was living in Oregon. I created a whole bunch of them. All of these young people had suddenly, and probably not wanting to do it, had been thrust into their own versions of activism to connect with the all, to recognize that we all have a role to play. We are all important in this. We are all vital. So some of you know, and if you didn't know before, now you do, I'm a spiritual activist, and there are times I get very vocal about us living at the highest level of love and spiritual integrity possible. You know, Jesus didn't teach that we should love when it's convenient. He said that we're to love each other all the time. All the time. All the time. So my activism for the last several years, definitely before Parkland happened, began taking the form of finding those ways to remember who we are, to remind us who we are, and to help awaken those who have forgotten their own divinity. You know, that is a strong, strong statement. There's the idea that your purpose is your protest. Your purpose is your protest. And protest carries with it the suggestion of force and fighting. But why don't we say your purpose is your divine movement into life? It is your gift. When someone doesn't know or remember their own divinity, it might seem sometimes that their only chance might be to react to life in ways that are big, you know, if they feel isolated and threatened. But the thing is, we're all creations of God. We're not just, as I like to say, we're not just adjacent to God. We are of God. We are of God. We need to be far more proactive in reminding each other that we're all worthy, that we're all beloved, that we're all needed. Gandhi said, in a gentle way, you can shake the world. Oh, yeah. Now, see, I like that. In a gentle way, we can shake the world into this knowing of the all. What are the gentle ways that you can begin to shake your world? How are you going to shake yourself going forward this week? How are you going to awaken into just a simple, simple recognition as you see someone maybe driving in an erratic way or an obnoxious way, let's just call it what it is, on the freeway? How are you going to awaken yourself and to say, instead of, geez, what an idiot, how about teacher? That's my teacher. That's my brother. That's my sister. That's my beloved. That's me. That's me. I know that each of us in our own way can shake this world. Right now, I feel like I want all of us to just hug this world. I want to hug all the children and all their families. I want to love all of them. All of them. And I know that that's at our core, what we want to do too. And we start with loving here and healing whatever those rifts are within us, those areas of misperception. You know, Martin Luther King Jr. said, we may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. And so we are in this boat. Ain't nobody going to get out very soon. So since we're here together, let's begin to live with a deep sacred awareness of the all within ourselves and within each other. Shall we do that? All right, it's a deal, and so it is. Thank you. So let's just take this into just a bit of prayer here. Anchor it. So we know the truth. We are in the same boat now. We are one with and one of God. We choose to know ourselves as Spirit knows us, limitless, ever unfolding beings, singing our song, finding our way, and supporting others as they sing their song as well. So I bless this time together, and I bless this message knowing that it has anchored within us. And it causes us to know that this church is a blessing. So we bless all churches, all paths to God. And we wrap our arms around the world. As we do indeed bless cathedrals, ashrams, mosques, temples, synagogues, all. Because truly we are here as divine creations of spirit. And we know that our role is to wake up and to gently shake this world and to gently shake our own world into love. So with gratitude, I release this word into spiritual law, knowing it is so and so it is. And together we say, Amen. And now, because we have changed the order of the service, and I'm like, it's fluid, we might change it again next week. Right now we're going to invite you. This is the time that we share our love offerings and our tithes. So I'm going to invite you to take your gift and to hold it in your hand and hold it to your heart and to say with me, from the love of pure spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and bless and prosper. It is evidence of my faith and belief. It does good work in the world and returns to me multiplied abundantly. So in a minute, Alcid will tell you what to do with those gifts and how to distribute them to us. But right now first, so have a seat. So, because this is the heart of healing, that's what we are calling this service now. We really want this to be a deep healing service. So I'm going to invite all of you, if we don't have the words on the screen, I want you to look at your programs because we do have the words to open my eyes that I may see. And from there we will go into a deep prayer, a healing prayer. And I just want you to bring forth anything that you are feeling called to see transformed, whether in your life or someone you love or on the planet somewhere. Bring that into consciousness as we move into prayer. Open my eyes that I may see fullness of Sorry. Womb in me, Spirit divine. So we stay in this consciousness of love, of truth, knowing that we are immersed in God, that God is absolutely flowing through, in, as, and through us. And that is joy, that is love, that is truth, that is the absolute right harmony and divine order of all life as expressed through each and every one of us. So where there might be a need, an apparent need, or a perceived need for a healing in your life, or in someone you love, I invite you now to just simply know with me that the power, the perfection, the innate perfection, that perfect pattern of God is unfolding always and is informing all beings everywhere. And so that wholeness is the divine truth. The wholeness is absolutely the identity. That is my identity. That is our identity, that we move and live and have our beingness with the deep awareness that we are whole. So we allow that wholeness to come forth and to dissolve anything unlike itself. We celebrate that. And for an area that might feel stressful or something that is pulling at your attention around the area of money or finance, this is where we choose to know that God absolutely is present there. God is active there as support, as supply, as infinite abundance, because that is the nature of God, and nothing and no one can stand in the way of that, including us. It is the true nature of our being, of our identity, and we are informed by God, the limitless expression of God. How wonderful to know that. And for those areas on the planet that might have gotten your attention, where there is a need for greater love, for greater peace, for greater understanding, for feeding people, for loving people, for housing people, whatever that is, we know that God is present right here, right now, right there, right now, and active. Active. Before I ask, I answer. Before we ask, it is answered. And the truth is being revealed. We celebrate that truth and we hold that truth to absolutely be the fundamental core of all life. That right where God is, all life is working together in abundance, in wholeness, in celebration, in supply, in prosperity, in joy, and harmony. So we embrace this knowing and we say yes to it. Yes, yes. There is only good in the mind and the heart of God. So we set aside everything that appears not to be that and say, I am willing now. It is my power. My great ability is my availability. And I am available now to a greater idea of myself and the world. So with all of this in mind, we just simply rest in gratitude. We rest in a full knowing of acceptance and thanksgiving that there is only good, there is only God, and that it is already so. We release this word into the law of mind, infinite mind, knowing that Spirit is active, 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 and demonstrating right here and right now. And so it is, and together we say, Amen. My eyes are open now, I see fullness of truth thou hast for me. My hands now hold that wonderful key that opens the door and sets me free. Joyously now I rest in thee, ready, my God, thy will to see. My eyes are open now, I see Spirit
And now for our announcements. So to make donations to our church through our text to give number, QR code, or through our website, nhcrs.org/give. Prayer with the practitioner is available after service, in person or on Zoom. Every Sunday morning at 9:45, our junior church is open to kids from toddlers to teens, and in between, and they are thriving. Wednesday night healing service with Reverend Steen. Meditation 6:50, service 7 p.m. Reverend Sydney's topic this week is 2 little words. Please sure to join us this Sunday, June 11th, for Bring a Friend Sunday, with pancakes, breakfast, and service ministries fair. Our practitioners and service ministry leaders will be on the patio with information and opportunities to join and or support our wonderful service ministries. There will be pancakes, don't miss out, and bring a friend or 2. The Good Gossip Club, this club facilitated by practitioner Nikki Svara, meets this Sunday at 1 p.m. at the youth church. Please join us. Grief Support Group, this group facilitated by practitioner Carol Winokur, meets this Sunday at 1 p.m. on Zoom. Creative Arts Ministry presents God's Open Mic Night, Sacred Passages, Friday, June 16th from 7 to 9 p.m. in the sanctuary. Suggested donation is $10. The event has launched the 2023 Creative Arts Ministry, returns in June. Performers will be given 5 minutes to share a sacred passage representing the experience of God. To participate, sign up on the patio or contact Mark Crowell at markcrowell@aol.com. Lunch in the Park Feeding the Homeless, Sunday, June 18th. Our Loving Outreach Ministry will be feeding the homeless and others on June 18th at our new location, Alexandria Park, at 1 p.m. Donations and volunteers are needed and always welcome. Stop by the table on the patio to pick up a flyer that includes a map to the park and to sign up, to bring food or serve. Thank you.
I want you to know that we do have flyers out there for lunch in the park. We have maps, and we also have the sign-up sheets tonight. So we have gone from feeding a few people to a lot of people since we shifted our location. So we would love your involvement in this. We also have been at times collecting necessities of life, toiletries and things like that. And so just know that we are growing this ministry because it's the all, folks. We all need to be involved in that. Let's see, was there anything else I want to say? Oh, if you want to do the God's Open Mic Night, just bear in mind, family-friendly, G-rated. Family-friendly, G-rated. Okay? Keep it clean. And we look forward to having you share with us. You want to cover that stuff too, don't you? Zoom.
The Zoom visual patio before and after Sundays and Wednesday services. Zoom meditation every morning, Monday through Saturday from 7:55 to 8:15 a.m.
All right.
Visit our website, nhcrs.org, to obtain Zoom links and more information about our events, and to sign up for our weekly e-blast and monthly newsletter.
Okay, so we have a new closing song. I know, so all of this new stuff. Oh my God, Sydney, really? We have to do that much change? With love, anything is possible. All right, so give me a D7. Sounds like we're gonna sing Happy Birthday. 1, 2, 3, 4. With love, anything is possible. Any mountain can be climbed. Any river can be crossed. Nothing's ever lost. With love, anything is possible. We're going to sing the same thing again. With love, anything is possible. Any mountain can be climbed. Any river can be crossed. Nothing's ever lost. With love, anything is possible. And we're going to see the same thing again, now with a key change. Here we go. With love, anything is possible. Any mountain can be climbed. Sorry, it can be crossed. Nothing's ever lost. With love, anything is possible. Let's do that line again. With love, anything is possible. All right, here's our benediction. And keep those programs out because you're going to want it. All right. So I know for each of us as we move out into the world that all life is working to support us and that we are each guided and guarded and open-hearted. And I invite all of us to say together the prayer for protection, which is in here, and it goes like this. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Now, there's a trick to this. When you do the all is well, in junior churches all over the country, all over the world, particularly Unity churches, the kids go all is well to stamp it into existence. They're anchoring the prayer. So that last line, wherever we are, God is, and all is well. All right, there we go. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for your patience and your collective creativity. I'm so glad that we got to be here tonight. Thank you.